What is the most you've ever been paid to do something? Perhaps $20 for mowing someone's lawn, or $50 for that first job after school. But what about $15,000 to kill someone? That was the amount of money one hitman was paid. And today, we will tell you all about this case. This hitman had killed so many people he started getting cocky. It was at this point his boss decided he needed to be taught a lesson. He sent him on a mission that would change his life forever. It all began when Salvatore Rina was just a young boy growing up in Italy during the 1940s. His family were well off, but they weren't rich. They ran a grocery store, and that's where he spent most of his time as a kid. One day, Salvatore's father left the house. It was just a normal trip to the market until he never came back home again. A few days later, some men in black suits arrived at their doorstep. They told his mother that his father had died, and that she should go live with her sister. But there was something strange about these men in suits that made her suspicious. So she asked them why they were there, to which they replied that they were her husband's business partners. However, she wasn't convinced. She knew her husband worked alone and didn't have any business partners. She didn't want to admit it, but she was scared. These men in suits could have come to take her son away from her. Her only hope was her sister's house. Years passed, and Salvatore was now a teenager, having to grow up fast because his mother couldn't look after him on her own. All of his friends were afraid of the mysterious men who had taken his dad away from them. One night, Salvatore's mom met a man at her sister's house who offered to buy her a drink. He seemed nice, but little did she know he was a member of the Sicilian Mafia. At first, she didn't want to accept his offer, but she knew she had to do something to get her mind off her problems. After a few drinks, she realized she liked this guy. His name was Tito, and he was also from the same town as Salvatore. So a few weeks later, she introduced him to her son. And although he looked scary, Salvatore knew deep down inside he was a good person. A year passed, and at the age of 16, Salvatore left school and went to work for Tito. He learned how to drive a tractor and take care of farm animals. It was hard work, but he loved every minute of it. He also became close friends with Tito, who treated him like his own son. It seemed like things were finally looking up for Salvatore, but one day everything changed. It was the early 1960s, and Tito had gone to Palermo to meet with other members of the Mafia. When he returned home, he brought bad news. One of the guys he'd met had been arrested by the police, and they were worried he might talk. If he did, it wouldn't just be him who got into trouble, but everyone in the organization. That's why Tito had to make sure he stayed silent. He told Salvatore to get ready. They were going to take care of the problem themselves. When he heard this, Salvatore was shocked. Thought the Mafia was just a myth. But now he knew better. It was time to prove himself. This was his chance to show everyone what he was made of. The next day, Tito took Salvatore with him to meet the others. There was a lot of arguing, but eventually they came up with a plan. They were going to kill the informant. And although it sounded crazy, Salvatore knew he couldn't back out now. If he did, he would be killed. So the men got into their cars and drove to where the informant was staying. It was a small village in the middle of nowhere. When they arrived, Tito told Salvatore to stay in the car while he went inside to do the dirty work. A few minutes later, he came out with a gun in his hand. Salvatore was shocked. He had never seen anything like this before. Tito got in the car, and they sped away as fast as they could. From that day on, Salvatore's life was never the same again. He had seen things no one should ever see, and he knew if he told anyone, he would be dead. So he kept quiet, even though it ate away at him. For years, he tried to forget about what happened that day, but it was impossible. He started having nightmares and couldn't sleep at night. He drank heavily, and soon became an alcoholic. Tito tried to help him, but nothing seemed to work. One day, Tito sat Salvatore down and told him the truth. He said the informant hadn't actually been killed. Instead, they had taken him away and threatened him until he agreed to cooperate with them. Salvatore was shocked. He had been carrying around a heavy burden for years, and now it was all been for nothing. He was so relieved he could have cried. From that day on, they became even closer than before, and Salvatore never looked back. Over the years, he rose through the ranks and became one of the most feared men in the Mafia. He committed countless crimes, including murder, extortion, and drug trafficking. He was known as the Beast of the West End, and was responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people. He even got away with killing the son of a judge who was investigating him. But his luck eventually ran out. When he was caught with a large shipment of drugs, He was sentenced to 26 years in prison. However, he was released after serving only 9. Now that he was free, he wanted to start a new life. He married a woman named Santa Concetta, and they had 3 children together. But his past wouldn't let him rest. He couldn't sleep at night and was constantly looking over his shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's when he decided to turn himself in and confess everything he knew about the Mafia. In exchange, he was given immunity, and now lives under witness protection. Salvatore has written several books about his time in the Mafia, and is currently working on a movie about his life. In an interview, he was asked what the most money he'd ever been paid to kill someone. He replied, "I can't reveal that information. However, sources say it was $15,000. He then added, "I have killed more than 300 people in my life, and I have ordered the killings of many innocent people. I am not ashamed of it because I was doing what I had to do to survive." Salvatore Riina is a true psychopath who doesn't feel remorse for his actions. He's confessed to killing hundreds of people, yet he still has a lot of secrets. Maybe one day he'll tell us the truth about how much he was paid to kill someone. But until then, we may never know. Have you ever heard of Salvatore Riina? What do you think of his story? Let us know your thoughts below. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos.